1,702 COVID-19 deaths recorded so far in Nigeria as NCDC reports 1,131 new infections. Senate berates governors negotiating with bandits. In international news, U.S. impeachment House managers presented a second day of compelling testimony tying former President Donald Trump to the mob attack on the U.S. Capitol in January. And in sport, Alex Iwobi says no regrets leaving Arsenal.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The first civilian governor of Lagos State, Lateef Jakonde, has died on Thursday morning. He was 91. Jakonde was a former journalist who became Lagos State governor in 1979 until 1983. He was later Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. His administration as governor of Lagos State is still revered for the massive infrastructural developments recorded during his 4-year stint, especially the numerous Jakonde estates, low-income housing built across many local governments in the state. Jakonde was born in the Ekwetedo area of Lagos Island on July the 29th, 1929. He studied briefly at King's College, Lagos in 1943 and then enrolled at Elisha Grammar School in 1945, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Alhaji Jakonde's birth parents were from Omu Aron in Kwara State. Jakonde, also known as Baba Kekere, brought much development to Lagos as governor in line with the 5 cardinal programs of the Unity Party of Nigeria, founded by a former premier of the Western region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. 1,113 new cases of coronavirus infections were reported on Wednesday by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. This brings the country's total COVID-19 cases to 142,578. With 8 new fatalities, 1,702 persons have died so far from the pandemic in Nigeria. The registered new infections show Lagos State posting the highest number with 297, taking the total number of cases in the nation's commercial hub to 52,282. The Federal Capital Territory came second with 194 new infections, upping the cumulative cases in the nation's capital to 18,168. Kaduna State had 83 new cases, Kano 59, Oyo 58, Taraba 53, Imo 52, Osun 47, Plateau 45, and Edo 43 cases. 12 other states also reported new infections. Nearly 1,200 persons have been successfully treated and discharged on Wednesday, raising the total number of recoveries in the country to 116,947. And CDC says the discharged cases as of Wednesday included 773 community recoveries in Lagos State and 66 in Imo State. The Senate has chastised some state governors for negotiating with bandits. National Assembly leaders say these negotiations further encourage banditry. The body has called for the implementation of the National Livestock Transformation Plan aimed at establishing ranches and eliminating open grazing. The senator stated these on Wednesday during an extensive debate on a motion by the Deputy Senate Leader Ajayi Boroface on the growing insecurity in all parts of the country. The Senate said the plan would prevent farmer-herder conflicts and activate highly productive livestock sector in Nigeria. The lawmaker has also advised President Buhari to direct the National Security Advisor, the newly nominated service chiefs, and Inspector General of Police to devise a proposal to rejig the nation's security architecture. Members of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SSANU, and Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, have been on strike since last Friday, threatening the smooth operations of the country's federal universities. Some of their demands are in line with NASU's reasons for going on a 9-month strike. Among them is the call to discard the use of the integrated personnel and payroll information systems as a payment system. They also call for better education funding. SSANU and NASU accuse the NASU members of usurping their roles by heading some departments meant for non-teaching staff and shortchanging them in the sharing formula and the 40 billion naira earmarked for the payment of earned allowance. Critical stakeholders in the system are strongly opposed to another shutdown of the university system, saying the consequences would be too dire on education as a sector. The ongoing strike may affect the post-UTME tests being planned by some universities beginning from this month. Justice Ahmed Mohammed of the Abuja Federal High Court has ordered the Central Bank of Nigeria to unfreeze the accounts of 20 #EndSARS campaigners which have remained frozen despite the expiration of the 90-day order a week ago. Justice Mohammed issued the order unfreezing the accounts after the legal teams of both the CBN and the 20 defendants decided to end the case on Wednesday. CBN's lawyer, Michael Kwaga, a former Attorney General of the Federation, told the judge he got an instruction from CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to withdraw the case. Nigeria's crude oil exports slumped to the lowest level in at least 3 years last month as infrastructure woes for some of Nigeria's biggest streams combined with gradually waning outputs in Angola. Correspondent Deji Badmos has the details.
Key to the drop in Nigeria's oil export is disruptions to major oil export terminals, which forced operators to declare force majeures and shut down the facilities for repairs. Experts say in addition to that is the OPEC Plus output cuts, which pegs Nigeria's production at 1.5 million barrels per day, as against its capacity of 2.3 million barrels per day.
It has affected us very seriously. One, that there was COVID. Two, demand had gone down even before COVID. Demand for oil, especially from China, that is the highest importer of crude oil in the world. Initially, we were exporting up to about sometimes 2 million, sometimes 2 million plus, But now, they are not getting up to about 1.5.
With some of the export terminals now coming on stream, Nigerian crude production is forecast to grow to over 1.7 million barrels per day in April and hit around 1.9 million barrels per day in the second half of the year. But with the OPEC Plus cuts in place and demand for oil still depressed, it's unlikely the country will reap much from the hike in production. The government is now looking at cutting the cost of production, which is among the highest in the world, targeting a maximum cost of $10 per barrel.
As we all know what's happening around energy transitions and the things that happen globally, the choices that our consumers have, the choices that investors have across the world, there is nowhere in the world where a less cost-efficient operator can survive. So it's not possible anymore. So you cannot produce $50 oil and survive today.
The average total cost per barrel is now below $30 for the joint venture agreement and below $20 per barrel for the production sharing contracts. We need to do some heavy liftings, not only to get to the optimal band of unit operating costs, but to also sustain it as part of our way of doing business.
Nigeria's economy is taking a serious beating as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and a significant drop in government earnings from oil. While crude prices are now going up, the OPEC Plus cuts in place means the country may still not reap much benefits from the higher prices. The government is now turning its attention to gas. It's scaling up investments in the sector, hoping to make a huge commercial success of the country's abundant gas reserves.
Coming up, African stories. South Africa making new plans in its COVID-19 vaccinations as the mining industry offers support in the vaccine rollout. And later, international news. U.S. impeachment House managers presented a second day of compelling testimony tying former President Donald Trump to the mob attack on the Capitol in January.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is NANS News. Terror incidents along Tunisia-Libya border has always been of concern for many years. Tunisia has taken many steps, including building a terror wall to fend off incidents. Now it is on alert to ensure security holds along the border. Correspondent Adnan Tawaji reports.
Tunisian Defense Minister Brahim Bartaji says the country's security forces are on the alert in case they are required to intervene militarily along the 459-kilometer southeastern border with Libya.
The Tunisian National Army is ready to defend the homeland and to face any threat from the eastern border with Libya. Parliament supports the Defense Ministry in its plan to improve the logistical and human needs of the military, will deter terror threats and stop any smuggling and organized crimes on the border with Libya.
The minister says Tunisia's security will improve when the turmoil and political unrest in Libya ends.
We are vigilant, but we expect the situation in Libya to improve following the successful political dialogue. The security situation will also improve gradually in Libya. This will have a positive impact on Tunisia's security.
Members of the Security and Defense Commission at the Tunisian Parliament have welcomed the peaceful resolution of the Libyan conflict. The MPs took note of the important role that Tunisia's army plays in protecting the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
We are happy about the positive outcome in Libya. The Tunisian military has reinforced its presence on the border. The defense capabilities have been reinforced, like the border fence, the permanent and active military units, as well as the electronic monitoring system with detectors and cameras. This system will prevent the illegal crossing by terror cells. The air and sea surveys have also been boosted.
Tunisian Prime Minister Hisham Meshishi has congratulated his Libyan counterpart Abdelhamid Dbeibeh on his election as Prime Minister. Meshishi said Dbeibeh will face the challenge of stabilizing his country devastated by 10 years of war. Tunisian President Kais Saied has welcomed the election of the Presidency Council of Libya, describing the event as historic. The head of state reaffirmed that the inter-Libyan dialogue is the only way to reach a lasting solution to the crisis in this brotherly country.
South Africa's COVID-19 vaccine battle has been rocked by setbacks lately, including its postponement of the AstraZeneca vaccine rollout. Now, the country's mining industry says it is stepping in to aid the country in its vaccine rollout program. Correspondent Angela Coppola reports.
The scale and reach of the vaccine rollout is the biggest ever undertaken in South Africa, affecting over 14 million people. And all business sectors in the country are involved.
I'm immensely encouraged by the positive sentiment from the mining industry as expressed by the Minerals Council towards the vaccine rollout. Mining companies are well placed to support the vaccine program, given their experience with managing tuberculosis and HIV amongst their employees. We must continue to ensure that the health and safety of mine workers remains a priority. But this must also apply to the mine workers' families.
The mining sector has widespread healthcare infrastructure in place. It's needed this to battle against tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS amongst its workers.
Mining, as you're aware, has significant healthcare infrastructure and capacity. That means in terms of healthcare workers and support services as well. And that will enable us to drive the vaccination process. And we certainly hope to play a constructive role as designated points of care under the Department of Health. And this would be particularly important in those regions where there are clusters of mines and mining communities, but also in those sometimes far-flung regions where mining is the dominant economic activity.
The mining industry contributes some 8% to the South African economy, and a vaccine rollout program driven by the sector will affect millions of people. That's over and above the 450,000 people who work on the mines.
Our conservative estimates are that we could vaccinate between 60,000 and 80,000 people a day, if we had the vaccine, of course. And so that would mean in about 2 months, we could vaccinate between 2.5 and 3 million people.
As health authorities finalise their plans for that vaccine rollout, they're going to need to call in all the resources they can find, including the mining sector and their massive health infrastructure.
When we return, international news. U.S. impeachment House managers presented a second day of compelling testimony tying former President Donald Trump to the mob attack on the U.S. Capitol in January. And later, sport. Alex Iwobi says no regrets leaving Arsenal.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. U.S. House impeachment managers had a second day on Thursday to make their case that former President Donald Trump incited the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol last month. The prosecutors showed to the senators who were serving as jurors in the case graphic, previously undisclosed videos of the mayhem. The videos showed hundreds of insurgents, supporters of former President Trump, whom he allegedly urged to storm the Capitol to try to stop the official certification of his loss for re-election. Senators saw the mob storming through the building and into both chambers of Congress. Some of them saw themselves scuttling out of their offices and Senate chambers, hurrying into safety. The videos also showed some of the rioters shouting that they wanted to seize Vice President Mike Pence to hang him because he had rejected Trump's demand that he block the certification of the Electoral College outcome so that Trump and Pence could remain in power for another 4 years. Some of the other insurgents were seen in the videos hunting for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The mob stormed her office, but the prosecutors said authorities had already whisked her away to safety. In a very emotional presentation, House Manager Stacey Plaskett of the U.S. Virgin Islands told the 100 Senate members, quote, "The mob was looking for Pence because of his patriotism in order to execute him," end quote. A World Health Organization team was in Wuhan last week to investigate claims that COVID-19 originated from a lab there. The team has now reported that the virus that causes COVID-19 probably jumped from animals to humans and is extremely unlikely to have come from a laboratory.
The WHO team, which included Chinese experts, have completed their work in Wuhan. Part of the research centered on trying to understand how the virus transmitted from natural found any existence of the coronavirus in samples taken from other wild animals in other parts of China. There were accusations that the virus leaked from a lab in Wuhan, but the team of experts ruled this out.
The findings suggest that the laboratory incident hypothesis is extremely unlikely and to explain the introduction of the virus into the human population, and therefore is not a hypothesis that will implies to suggest future studies into our work to support our future work into the understanding of the origin of the virus.
Europeans knew the aftermath of Brexit would alter some of the ways goods had flowed between the EU bloc and the UK. It's only the extent they didn't know. Now, the realities of farming. Some Brexit formalities are delaying deliveries of goods. Correspondent Tony Waterman reports.
Tucked away in the Belgian countryside is Stone Manor, a go-to market for UK expats craving a little taste of home. Tea, jams, baked beans, they can all be found here, or at least they used to be.
This rack would have been bare for about 3 weeks now.
Manager Ryan Pierce, whose grandparents founded the store, says 90% of the shelves are now empty. Deliveries a victim of post-Brexit red tape. Stockpiles are so depleted, the shop was forced to temporarily close, a first in its 40-year history.
We've never experienced anything like this. We're having to get 250 lots of paperwork, for example. And if one of them is wrong, it could jeopardize the whole consignment.
The Road Haulage Association says there was a 68% drop in exports from Britain to the EU in January, as businesses adjust to new checks at the border. The UK government has disputed the figure, but Pierce has been left scrambling to find new suppliers within the EU customs union. This truck just arrived from Ireland with fresh meat. Stone Manor, one stop along an expanding route that skirts the UK.
The run is getting busier every week, whereas last year maybe you'd have 7 or 8 deliveries. Now we're up on 14, so busier for me.
2 weeks into February, and these sausages and bacon are the first products that the store has received so far this year. They come from a butcher in Ireland, bypassing the UK completely. But what's saved in paperwork is lost in price. Pierce says this small shipment was 3 times more expensive and has to be split between 2 locations. The shelves at Stone Manor's Brussels shop are just as bare. The customers who do stop in struggle to fill their carts.
Normally I would buy more tea, and my girls like maize and bagels.
Pierce doesn't know when the stores will be restocked. He blames the UK government for leaving businesses on both sides of the channel underprepared.
If they are given the correct information, then why are so many businesses struggling?
For now, sausage and bacon offer a brief reprieve and a reminder of the way things used to be.
Up next, sport. Alex Iwobi says no regrets leaving Arsenal. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, African News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, the case starts today of criminal conspiracy, misappropriation, criminal breach of trust and cheating brought against the president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, Shehu Guzo, and the federation's technical director, Sunday Adeleye. The AFN has been immersed in crisis for more than a year, with a faction of the federation loyal to the vice president, Olamide George, impeaching Guzo as president. Guzo and the others were accused of fraudulently inducing Puma to pay $75,000 into an account operated by Dynamic Sporting Solution in the guise of sponsoring the federation's sporting activities, which they then allegedly converted to their personal use. Super Eagles star Alex Iwobi says he has no regret for his move from Arsenal to Everton. Iwobi left his boyhood club in the summer to join fellow Premier League side Everton in a deal worth around 40 million euros. That is NN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, nnafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at NN Africa TV. I'm Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great evening.